I wanted to talk initially about expungements with marijuana convictions and overturning wrongful convictions and getting, not only getting someone a clean record. Now, Senator Irwin, you got to understand my heart here. You can have a clean name. You can go to your grave and say, hey, they cleared my name, this, that, and the other. But what were you able to do after they cleared their name? So I'm not looking just for people to have a clean name, but I want people to be fruitful in their families. You know, what about that clearance? And then also being able to get some type of endorsement from the state to even say this is an individual that is viable out here, because a lot of times people get a clean record, but jobs still won't hire them. You know, they'll look at that little gap in their resume or on the application and say, oh, this person must have did time, or this person must have been in this situation. And then there's a prejudge. What do we do not only to, because we can't close the date gap, but what do we do to help people who are coming out of the system, you know, who have been wrongfully accused, wrongfully tried, wrongfully convicted and sentenced? What do we do for those people who are trying to get back out here? And with all of the expungement stuff going on, how can we get the state involved to where the state can take some onus to this and help them out and get not only just a job, but I'm talking about government jobs, you know, get into apprenticeship programs and things like that.
Yeah, it's a big question. We could take that a lot of different directions. So let me just try to cover a little bit of ground there.
Sure.
One is that you talked about people who are sort of getting out and returning to the community, and I think that is an area where there is a very obvious role for the state and some missed opportunities in terms of the state trying to invest in the success of returning citizens. Many folks may know that under Governor Granholm, one of the most successful programs that was set up in the state was the Michigan Prisoner Reentry Initiative. Mm-hmm. And that initiative was shown to be very successful in reducing recidivism. So in other words, reducing reoffenses, reducing crime, and having folks stay back on track. And it was reducing recidivism by about 35% across the state, which is a huge amount when you actually start to add up those numbers in terms of the cost savings and all of that. And the way that that program worked was that they would reach out to prisoners before they exited the prisons, and they would connect them with people who weren't probation officers, who weren't trying to violate them, who weren't MDOC employees at all, but were actually community-based organizations who had two main jobs. One was to connect these people with housing, and two was to connect them with jobs. Right. Because we know that if people have housing and they have a job, they're not going to reoffend. And so we were incredibly successful at that program here in Washtenaw County, but unfortunately, when I got elected in 2011 to the state house, it was one of the first things that Governor Snyder cut. Governor Snyder basically killed that program. And we've been trying to work to bring it back ever since. When this new governor came in and when I had an opportunity to serve in the state Senate, this has been one of the items that's been on my list to discuss with MDOC and with my colleagues during the budget process every year. I think we need to rebuild that program, inject, I've been asking for $30 million into that reentry program to do just that. But, you know, that's not enough. There's more. You know, your question, I think, also hints to a much larger group of people who never go to prison at all, who get in some sort of trouble, they get involved with the court. You know, whether it's a wrongful conviction or wrongful arrest, or whether it's something that they did and they made a mistake and now they're trying to get back on track. There's a much larger group of folks like that who are involved with supervision and probation and that sort of thing. And so for those folks, we need to make sure that, you know, we provide greater opportunities as well. And I guess I'll just hit on two things before I stop on this point. One is banning the box. This is something that I was very supportive of as a county commissioner. We did it at Washtenaw County a long time ago when I was involved at the county level. Now it's something that I've been supportive at the state level. One of my colleagues, Fred Durhall III, was running that bill for several years, and we haven't been able to pass it at the state level. But I do think that at the state level, we should ban the box for you know, for state employees, and you know, I'd like to go further with you know, with private employers as well, because you know, if there's a reason that they need that information, that's one thing. But oftentimes, what happens is that people just people who might have a record, even for something petty, don't even get to the interview process. They don't even get a chance to be considered. Right. And that's what's so important. So that's key, banning the box. And the final thing I'll hit on is just training and education. You know, when we talk about trying to help people be successful, when we talk about investing in human capital here in the state of Michigan, when we talk about growing our economy for the long term, education is the number one thing. And when we also start to talk about we talk about racism, when we talk about discrimination in our communities, education's a big part of the answer there too. So when just zeroing in on your question, we need to make sure that people who commit some sort of criminal act, whether they go to prison or not, have an opportunity to continue to build their skills, that the barriers that are there for employment and the barriers that are there for education are taken away.
Right.
So for instance, you know, there are many, mostly federal programs that are not available to you in terms of grants to help you with school if you have a drug conviction. We need to change that. We've been working on that with Pell Grants, and I think that you know, we're going to have some success there. But there are, you know, anything we can do to help folks get that foot in the door with a community college or with a university, to advance their skills, or with a job training program. You know, we need to help these folks get the housing and employment they need to be able to contribute to their families and their communities, and to live a happy, dignified life. That's how we reduce crime and promote prosperity.